I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Our meeting this morning because we had a memorial service at Scott Hilton. We have it every year, ninth of May. The day he lost his life, so had a good turnout this morning. Never held off to that. Appreciate everybody's indulgence. I will ask Levi if you and Sister word of prayer.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather here today. Thank you for the many blessings of life that you give us. We do want to ask that you, as we went through the 20th anniversary of Officer Scott Hilton being murdered in the line of duty, that you be with his family, his mother Darlene, as they're still grieving through this. And we just know that we'll have better days coming. We thank you for all that you do for us, all that you give us, and just dying for our sins. Dear Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. So let me go ahead and call the roll, if I might. Ms. Bechtel.
Here.
Ms. Cookenbook.
Here.
Mr. Cox.
Here.
Mr. Booth.
Here.
And Mr. Turner.
Here.
All right, everyone is here and in person today.
There you go. All righty, next would be the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything want to add to it? Good to go. That sounds good. So, if nobody's got anything to add to it, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Call roll.
All right, on the motion to approve the agenda as presented for the May 9, 2023 Board of Supervisors regular meeting, Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
excuse me, Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda is approved.
And also, before I forget it, I was asked to make an announcement that we've had people that's having a difficult time hearing us because we get so much cross out going. It's muffling each other's mics out and it's picking up conversations from the back. And these machines that transcribe these things have a hard enough time with me and my mountain lingo without, so it needs all the help it can get. And that's the reason sometimes our minutes don't match what we're saying, so we need to be aware of that and keep our data at a minimum. Next up would be approval of this disbursements. Is everyone had a chance to look at it? Got any questions or concerns?
I have a question on page 5, under account 3310, C&D building, the garage tree damage.
Hmm.
Is that not covered by insurance, or is this our?
So if I might, so we can make sure it's in the minutes that it was indicated that,
Oh,
yes,
I'm
this
sorry.
was covered by insurance, and so that's all right. But we still have to pay them once we get the money.
Situations where everything. crops each
Yeah,
other.
we pay the invoice, the insurance company, we got partial payment once the work was done, because at the time we were unable to get a quote on it. So they paid us, that it has been deposited for the partial payment, and then I submitted yesterday the invoice for this, and we're going to get more payment, with, what's the word, depreciation. So they're adding depreciation costs due to what the increase in cost was for equipment of original quote. Thank you, Linda. Sorry about that.
Question, take a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion second.
Aye.
Call
Sorry about that. On the motion to approve the disbursements as presented, Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman. All right, thank you. Sure. Jump forward to the approval of the minutes.
I had something, again, it's a spelling, just didn't move from one to the other.
Okay,
Shannon Hardwick,
what
Yeah.
page, please?
I'm looking,
16.
yeah. 15. You have her name spelled correct in the, title, but it's not correct in the first line underneath,
This March,
March
Oh,
14th.
14th.
and an E,
Add an E at the end.
done.
Very nice. I love this. And I guess I'm not trying to be picky. But is there any way to, I guess it's just hard to read when it's all broken down in paragraph. Some of these are really difficult. But I guess there's no way to put a paragraph or anything. It's just a lot to read. It gets a little.
I could be more mindful to try to separate it, to
Like a-
paragraph it,
If we can,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to make more work, it's just, it is, obviously, we know that when you're talking on a different subject, the bullet point is then issued, and that's great.
Right.
But some of the longer ones, like that one, and another one in here, they're just really hard. I don't know. Do what you can do.
Yeah.
I can hit.
I'll be more mindful. How's that?
Well, there it goes back to what the machine's hearing too.
I know.
And he don't know when to quit, when to pick
Yeah.
up something else.
I know.
Cross references in some of the phrases we use. But anybody else had any?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. No other discussion, call the roll.
All right, on the motion to approve the minutes as corrected, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes,
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, those are approved. Thank you.
Then going back. So comment, been about 12 o'clock.
Jean's the
How
only
many
one who
got
signed it.
signed up for it?
Yeah.
Let me read it in, it's grammar. It is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board regardless of handicap and conditions shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. When you come forward, state your name, the district you're from, limit your comments to 4 minutes. Got a sign-up sheet here, and then I have Dr. Millsap or Tim gonna call the names.
All right, Mr. Chairman, at this time, we just have one person signed up, which is Jean Woods. And if you could mention which district you're in, because it's not on here.
Linda. If somebody else.
I'd like to.
Okay, if we could then have you sign up?
I'm not sure of my district. I live in Floyd County in Reiner, mailing address 771 White Oak Grove Road. And off the top of my head, I do not know my district.
It depends on which side of White Oak Grove.
Right on the right side as you go up toward the river.
Going toward, right hand side would be courthouse.
Okay, I am in the
Just-
courthouse. Good. So I am here today representing the Perfect Gift Shop. And I'm here to thank you very much for enabling us to operate in 2022. And if you are not aware of who we are and what we do, I'll do a very brief overview. We were founded in Floyd, Virginia in 2017. We have operated every year since. And we started out covering children that were in the food programs and developmentally delayed adults. We now cover all children that are associated with Floyd County, that attend churches or schools in Floyd County, that have a non-custodial parent living in Floyd County. So we also cover the developmentally delayed adults. We serve children from 5 to 15, and we operate in December each year. We are a holiday shop. Excuse me, allergies. We serve all reasons for giving gifts in December, primarily Christmas. But we have had some winter solstice, some Kwanzaa shoppers, and we have had some birthday shoppers. So all reasons to give gifts in December. We are supported by the Floyd community through donations of items. If you get that gift that's not perfect for you, but might be perfect for somebody else, we will carry it in our shop, and kids will buy for their parents or grandparents or someone. And we also raise funds. We are having a yard sale, which is our only annual fundraising event. The Moose Lodge kindly lets us use their building for 3 days over Memorial Day weekend. And people have been donating items that we can sell. We have everything from furniture to linens to dog things and crates and all of that. So Memorial Day weekend, 27th, 28th, and 29th, please come by and buy something because we have lots of things for sale. The gift certificates, these are not vouchers, they are gift certificates that are given to the children, and they come in and they shop with these $25 gift certificates. They typically can buy over 6 gifts. We try not to have things over $10. But sometimes we do have, and we have kids that go together to buy their parents like a comforter set that's very special. So, and thank you for helping us carry out our mission to share the joy of giving. In 2022, you enabled us to serve 437 shoppers. 430 were children, and 7 were adults. We distributed over 2,700 gifts, 400 plus carry bags. Tony Lamberti came up with the idea of having what she calls a Santa Claus bag, which is a big bag. We were using trash bags and things like that, but out of donated fabric, they're big bags. Sewers in Floyd County are making big bags for us, and these are carry bags. They also are making gift bags, and over 2,000 gift bags were made by sewers in Floyd County and used to wrap presents. This helps recycling, and we have children that come in from year to year asking for the bags because they reuse them. Volunteer hours to operate the shop were 400 plus. We had 1,200 hours of prepping for the shop, moving, getting everything set up, getting the decorations done. These are all volunteer hours. There were over 180 hours of time spent sewing and making bags. And I don't know how many hours were spent on the knitting and crocheting of hats. And over 200 people. And I almost said over 300 because I think it was close to 300 that donate items for us. And we understand you will let us operate again next year. And so we are very grateful that we can carry out our mission of sharing the joy of giving because of your generosity and kindness.
Do you have any additional comments or anything, you can give it to the staff and we'll make sure it's put into our records and stuff.
Okay, I've distributed that to her.
Okay, thank you.
You have 10 correspondence.
Yes, if I might. So there is some PowerPoints that Jean provided us that are in your correspondence. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Right. Let's see. And then the second speaker is Sean Hansford. And again, if you could help us with your district, that would be great.
Fall in line with her. I don't know where my district is.
You could repeat that, then people who are not with it, who are listening elsewhere, or listening not with us, are like, no, that's not right. So.
Meadows again. I come here seeking counsel. I don't know what to do with an angry neighbor that's been ticked off because I called the animal control on him for loose cows. I moved in February. They gave me their number. Anytime you see a loose cow, please give us a call. First 3 times they responded. After that, they stopped picking up the phone. About half a dozen times later, they picked up and they said, "That's fine." I was trying to repair the yard that hadn't been raked in 2 years and bring it back to life. Cows are walking in the yard, putting their hoof prints in the yard, taking their business in the yard. Pretty much almost every day. Started taking pictures about halfway through the month. Started calling the police about the end of the month when there was a calf not 10 yards from my door that gets business again. I've lost it. They responded. They've called him several times. I've called them over 24 times, I've noticed on my phone logs, to try to get this resolved somehow. For whatever reason, they refused to give him a ticket after all these calls, and their recourse was to tell me to come here. I've got pictures, I've got videos. After I called the law on him, that afternoon, he encircled my yard, which he gets to lease the property on 3 sides around my property. That's right at the end of 931 Alexander Road. And him and his daughter rode around in their tractor, just looking inside. Like not an hour after I called. That afternoon, just around dark, wintertime, about 6ish, their kin came down and did HEV donuts at the end of the road, throwing gravel onto my car. I have pictures. I got out there 2 minutes after they were gone, and the dust was still 12 feet in the air. Came back the next morning, 6:30 in the morning, did the same thing. Gets worse. Called again, and they decided to distribute manure at 12:45 in the morning until 2:30, until the police finally arrived to get all the way out there to where I am. He wasn't doing anything illegal. Apparently it's okay in Floyd County to distribute manure next to someone's house 20 yards away with spotlights focused into my house, 3 of them on the side of the tractor. Why you need to see it on the side of the road? And why couldn't you do way on the other side of the field instead of right next to my house at that time of night? The animal control came there and tried to help him with his fence. They did some measures. A couple days later, he insisted on putting his tractor right there at the corner of the property not 30 yards from my door, to use that to electrify his fence, charge the generator. He started at about 7:30 p.m. just a couple weeks ago. Let it run until 8 o'clock next morning when he turned up. Did the same thing next night. Got there about dark, turned on the tractor, and all you can hear is nothing but tractor. And comes back in the morning, turns it off, which makes me question, why is he turning it off? What's powering the electric fence now? Or was it ever powered? I've seen cows go through that fence like it was nothing. He even pointed out to where they were escaping. And because I did that, I'm a bad guy. Someone wise once said, good fences make good neighbors. I believe that goes the other way around, doesn't it? Good neighbors make good fences. So I ask for your help. What can I do? Because apparently there's no law in Floyd County for noise disturbance, which I've never been to Floyd Fest, but that's peculiar. My just outside thought, not my business, but is there a nuisance law that I don't have to pay $5,500 to a lawyer to get him to go to court to bring this up? That's why I'm here. So that hopefully the next person that gets in this property of rental doesn't have to go through this.
It's my fault, I failed to announce it. You know, this is a one-way conversation. We listen to what you have to say,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sure we will be having discussions on this.
I've done nothing but raise awareness and I've accomplished my mission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anyone else signed up for public comment at this time. Oh. Second.
I've heard a public comment hearing closed.
See our superintendent. Here he is back.
My turn.
Mhm.
Good morning. I wish I had a lot to report, but it's about as quiet from Richmond as we have ever heard it. So I do have a meeting tomorrow with the Region 6, but there's nothing going around, whether it's with the finance directors or the superintendents or the HR people. Just what are we going to do? So here's the difference in my multiple years with what's going on in Richmond as far as multiple budgets, which happens. It happens too that you don't get a budget till June. That's not a problem. We have managed that here. Here's the dilemma, which comes directly back to the school system, and it's really not a monetary dilemma. It's more of a timely dilemma. In previous years, when this went on, there's usually only three budgets: the governor's, the House, and the Senate's. And all three budgets in previous years, when it was prolonged, had the same percentage for employee compensation. No problem. You take the worst budget, as we did with you all, and said this is bottom line. We cut to get to this point, and this was the fourth budget in this second year of the biannual budget. And there are two different numbers out there. So the worst budget has the less. And all we can do is take what they give us and adjust to fund our portion, which we've always done that and not come back here, which is fine. So we'll wait and see where it's going to go. But what that means is we have to stay with the skinny budget, and that's what it's based on. It's the worst case scenario. So at this time, I'm usually saying, okay, the best thing for localities is to know you don't have to give us any more than you did last year, and we try to do that. But at one point, we're gonna have to issue contracts. And once those contracts are issued, on the worst case scenario, if the budget comes back, it just comes back on us, we have to reissue, which isn't a problem. But that's where we are right now. I can assure you we're on the worst case, and the extremities on the worst case and best case are a lot of money. And it won't be anywhere in between. It's probably going to be further to the worst case, which is fine. But we're in good shape. We feel good about that. If it is what it is, that's what we get from the state, and we won't ask for any more local, but we'll have to see what happens. So there's the budget rundown. What we got on that. The CCDC open house, waiting for the plaque to be created. What we've done is in 1971, the CTE building plaque, we've mimicked that, same names and everything on it. So we'll put that plaque back up in about its original place, and then we'll have one for our dedication down there. And sorry, but usually with these plaques, it's who was sitting on the boards when it was approved. So I believe it was approved July 2020. So we'll invite those parties back, and we'll get that up and running. But that's coming good. Little things here and there, and Wi-Fi is working. We'll probably, we have occupancy for some areas. We'll expand and do our end of year assessment types down there to give us a lot more room, and then we'll get ready for next year with it. But it's been exceptional. So we still have a lot of people looking at it, and you guys got the best bargain at the right time. 14.5, and that thing's last quote I heard was over 44 million to build. So I wouldn't want to build these days. But everything else is good. May 20th, 10 a.m. Have a tent for you. The high school sends you invitations. Have some water. Hopefully you won't need it. We'll see. And we're good with that. And the spring's going well. We're getting everything in, and the facilities projects are moving along. I think that only appropriations we have is what Mr. Booth and I explained last time. The money for the 2 buses, that was it. That'll go in town and allow us to free up 2 buses to make the big trips. So that'll work out well for us.
So you're not getting 2 additional buses, you're just getting 2.
We're just getting 2, but I mean, that's, and I'll have everything for whoever comes in. I gave it to Mr. Booth when I started the facilities. We'll have that spreadsheet. We're in good shape with that. The 2 roofs are done. The buses are within our budget, which is a good way to do it as long as you can keep up with it. We have 9 more sitting there, and they're in line until we tell them to take it out. And right now they're not in our budget. That's $188,000 that we had to take out to make the skinny budget. No, nope, we got 2 buses. We probably project about 6 routes that could probably handle them. But our buses are a little different. Our buses, we incorporated the charging stations in the amount. Doesn't cost us a thing. We need to get rid of them. We can offload them without any problems. Basically 2 free buses, and I guess people don't like where the money's coming from, but we can't help what free money's gifted to us for a specific purpose. And any money, grants or anything else, it's, boy, you toe the line and this is what you got. One of our resolutions last night was, you have to sign it. You have to sign it in blood that you're using this money for it. And that's the only way we can stay with not asking over the years to increase the budget, is because of grants and opportunities. That's it.
And of course, I know it's hard to project have you projected a cost analysis of the electric bus versus the standard bus as far as maintenance and that sort of stuff?
So new, and I'm not an expert in it. I think if we, you get 10 years about on one of our diesels. So, the life expectancy could be the same. And we'll be able to, it's basically getting 2 free buses. It should be a less expensive cost to operate you're not going to be able to see because the variables that you don't come into play is these buses aren't going very far. They're not going to go on a 200-mile sports trip. They're going to stay around town and free up the buses that can make those and extend the lives of those buses. It's more of a extension of life for our other ones and a freebie for us.
You said charging stations was included.
We included them.
Okay.
We made sure whatever we got, you get a total amount, and we made sure it was in. Obviously, we have one place for them, and that's all been worked out, and you have 2 charging stations.
That will be your facility.
Be at that facility, which everybody uses it. So Sheriff Craig wants to drive around in a little teeny electric car, maybe he can charge it over there too.
So I'll go back to the dates. The 20th is graduation.
20th graduation.
The dedication of the new building.
I'm waiting for that plaque.
Okay, that's
It'll be June.
Oh, okay.
It'll be June.
Okay.
And we may have a few move-ins going in at the time to try to lessen. I mean, we have the 8th grade area that's already housed, and as far as with the furniture,
Yeah.
get teachers comfortable, they're going to be down there. And
I'll try to.
as soon as Thompson Linton gets back with me, I'll get with our board and I'll probably shoot you all an email and say what dates work for you all. I think we'll have some dates to choose.
Anything new as far as the roads or abandonment or any of that?
No, and I think that's. I'm not ducking out on this, Mr. Booth, but I promise I won't leave anything. But I think we look at the traffic from here. I think you can do anything you want to do, and I don't think the school board has an extreme preference. I just think we got to decide what's the best thing to do. Now, those roads are maintained by VDOT. So I think you at least go through a winter where there may be some snow, because we'd have to increase our equipment to take that load on.
Short section crosswalks. That's still technically a VDOT right.
Where the building connects together.
We never.
I'll check with the architect. She had that last time I checked with her. She said that was in the process. VDOT said you're fine, do it. So whether it's officially abandoned, I don't know.
It has not.
Well, I'll tell her we'll get that abandoned. Yeah,
Bring it.
I'll check with,
Adding anything,
you're just talking about abandoning that one road. Yeah. Well, I hope they don't have us tear it up because they can't get through it now, so.
It should have been abandoned before construction started.
I don't know, there's 2 different people that they changed positions and yeah.
That section there, we need to go from the old stop sign or,
It's
they're on the
gone, yeah.
back to the sidewalk in front. That's all we have to do.
Yeah, I'll have Miss Sunshine check with them. She's been monitored. I'll send her an email today and see what the Board of Supervisors has to do to officially abandon that road.
We know what we need.
Okay,
Okay.
And
The
Steve's
point-
already told us we'll probably have to re-advertise.
okay, then, I mean,
Point being
Yeah,
is when you are doing something, such as building a new building, and there is a state road, Erica Sunshine, the architect, does not have the authority to go to VDOT and say, VDOT, is it okay to abandon the road? Because VDOT has to come to us. The Board of Supervisors, who's ever sitting on this dais, are the only people that can abandon a road in a county, in town. I'm just letting you know.
I know. Is employed by you, not by me, so you're asking the wrong person. So I would call Linda or Erica directly and let her know. She's not employed by me or the school board. So I don't have anything, I'm just going, that's official. I can't go there either and do it, so. I don't know. I know that she's aware of it and that you all want that abandoned and that, what the process is, but I check with her. It'd probably be better if you all emailed her and say, we're going to start the process to get this abandoned. Whatever you got to tell her, just do it. I would say you just wait because we don't have the ability. It was never abandoned before. Yeah, I would wait. I would deal with one section at a time because we don't have the ability and they approved the road, so they have to maintain it because the road wouldn't be there if they didn't approve it.
At one point, it was suggested that it do it all in connection. And one reason it didn't push forward at the time was the school board hadn't decided whether they want that new road as a VDOT road or not.
At this point, I think we're just living on it and seeing if it's best. I don't think it's going to increase the safety.
But as far as maintenance,
Maintenance, it's better to leave as a VDOT road.
it's not a VDOT road. It has to be accepted in.
Well, like I said, they're not employed by me, so I think it needs to be accepted into the system.
That
And
was my.
yeah, it needs. Okay.
6-8 months ago, I was bringing this thing in. And the gentleman with VDOT, I was told, wanted to do everything in connection at one time. And this board has never got, because we had talked about it, one time the school board wasn't really interested in it being the VDOT road, another time it was.
I don't recall that,
But anyway, so the school board has no problem with the new road being a VDOT maintained road.
last that I have talked with them, but I'll bring it up at the June meeting too, but I think all of that needs to go VDOT and until you live with it and to see what you want to do. Yeah.
That's the whole reason we hadn't really pushed forward was because nobody gave us a go-ahead on, because nobody knows whether they wanted to, even in individual conversations with certain school board members.
I understand, but it's not open yet. So we still have time. And I know you want to get it before, but the building just got occupancy.
Well, I know that.
So I think we're still within time frame. I'll check with them in June to see, but much better in this superintendent's opinion to live with it. And because it's not going to increase the safety if you abandon it, because then you have to do a whole lot on the other end. So, and I would email
I'm not
Erica.
talking about the abandoned part.
Okay,
See, that new road we have to put in a request to VDOT
right.
to take that road into the system, the new one that was built around back.
Yes, sir.
And as far as I know, we never got to go ahead from the school board or you to go ahead and put that request.
I can't
in.
give you the go ahead, but I will check with the school board and see.
If they want it in the system,
Yes, sir.
then we need to go ahead with that.
And I think that's
if
still
anything-
probably in
and
decision
the only
mode.
thing to be abandoned, sidewalk in
Yeah.
front and stop sign.
And I would check with Erica Sunshine, like I said, that's your employee, not mine, to abandon that road.
She is employed by Thomas and
Tom's and Litton, and you all are contracting with
with the
them.
contract.
Yes. So,
Well, maybe somebody from there needs to start coming to our meetings occasionally if they work directly for us.
we have meetings all the time,
I know you do, but I don't.
and you all are invited. Dr. Millsaps is invited. They have meetings bi-monthly. And there hadn't been anybody at that one, and probably not necessary. I mean, the building's not done yet. And Erica Sunshine connects regularly with Miss Chitto and does a good job and appreciates that very much. So I think that's where that is. But like I said, it's not finished yet. I'm sorry you wanted to get it done prior, but I'll check with the school board, and I think we're in plenty of time. If you want to get that off your plate and you want to, I'll check with them, make sure it's okay to.
It's not, Dr. Wheeler, Dr. Wheeler, it's not about getting anything off our plates, okay?
Okay.
I think what Mr. Booth and what I'm concerned about, our two compatriots were not on the board at the time. At the beginning, this was all about security, security, security. Then it shifted to the best way to move pupils back and forth. All very good ideas. I guess I'm having a problem because this isn't the only area that is happening right now. There are policies set in place that the Board of Supervisors operates from. You have your school policies, we have our policy, and we work with a variety, a large amount of various different state agencies, local agencies, whatever.
Everybody's aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it into the record, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just find that, like, I was amazed, like, all of a sudden you were building across that road. It had never come to us, ever, that you wanted to do anything. Be that as it may, before you had started to build across that road, we needed to do something with that road. And I think that's where Mr. Booth, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Jerry, but I think that's where we're just, it's confusing, to say the least.
I think the road situation straightened out. I'll talk with Miss Sunshine, and you all can do it too, and I'll check with the board and see if the VDOT takeover is necessary, and we'll move on. And as far as the road safety, I think that can always be done. And you're talking about chaining it up, and as far as the safety of it, we weren't able to include everything because the building was cut back, and for good reason, but I think we do have everything we wanted in it, and it really wasn't about just safety. Everything you do is about safety. It was about opportunities for Floyd County, and we're rolling with those now. So, but the roads, I'll talk with Erica, and I'll get with the board, and honestly, if y'all have a preference, you can do it. I'll just tell you, we don't have the machinery right now to clear the back of that road, and I don't know, because VDOT still is responsible for all the way around. It's just that one road down there, and if they don't want to do it, we'll do our best to do it. I think I'll check with them, and I'll get back with you this week. I'll send an email to Dr. Millsaps, and I'm sorry those roads caused such an issue. I can tell you the building is much prettier than the roads, and the functionality of that building is going to be much better than any road. But I'll get that to you, Mr. Booth. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. I'll get that to you right now or this week, and I'll call Miss Sunshine, and hope it doesn't detract from.
According to her understanding it was done in June of 2022, which she's mistaken.
Well, then I'll call her when I get out there. I got to check on the sign. Just say, hey, Board of Supervisors may be calling you, and they want to move on with that, and I'll let you know about the other road, and it's in good shape.
Well, they don't know.
Well, obviously, she thought she knew.
VDOT unless there's severe weather,
Right.
and I work with them all the time.
It's just part of the process that I questioned a year ago that we should, or before
understand.
it ever started, we should have abandoned that. Mr. Miller is the one wrote that said, well, we need to do it in connection. You abandon that one and add the other one. Well,
No, I'll
the
let
other-
this, I'll
the
convey
road
your
wasn't
feelings.
ready at that time, so you
Yeah.
couldn't have.
No, you couldn't. No problem. Sorry it caused so much conflict. You can blame it on me. Just don't name the road after me. For that reason. So I'll take the blame on it, and I'll be happy to. That's what happens when you go out. But I'll check with Erica today and see. Get all that stuff done. But that's all I got, and need anything else, call. Like I always say, I'll be happy to take you to lunch and talk, and I'll let you know and when the celebration will be and the opening will be.
You heard him, he said he'd take us.
I'll take you to lunch. I didn't say he said, I'll buy you lunch. I didn't say where.
I did notice, through a Facebook post, I think we had a bus driver qualify for the state.
Yeah.
For the rodeo.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Paul does a good job with that. They do, they enjoy
Any about
that.
the district.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, they can't put a better, you can't make a road to test a bus driver more than the natural one we got here. No, they do a good job, and I'm really hoping the budget comes back and our board will have to look at it and see if there's any extra, we get that 188 back into. We need them.
Gary Payton, the bus driver. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need them.
That's a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, they do a good job. I think everything's doing is good. We had a report from, the State Department comes down. They love what we're doing over there, and we're in good shape for transportation. And I mean, even our state report for our special education was excellent. And they even came to me. She said, we don't ever get to meet very many superintendents, and what we saw was amazing here in Floyd County. And Dr. McDaniel does a great job, you know, and with her, all her team. And the two evaluators came, not because they had to come, because of the state and the federal, and they said this is one of the most impressive places they've been. So yeah, we got a couple nice reports there, and it's always good when you have to be assessed and it comes back nice.
Thank you.
Hopefully next time I come, there'll be a state budget. Wouldn't count on it. They don't listen to me. We'll get that road straightened up. Don't worry, sorry to cause you grief, and believe me, I don't take it bad at all. I enjoy being fussed at. I'll make the corrections.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Will the graduation be inside?
Outside. Sir, no problem.
Can we get with Steve and get the advertisements re-advertised?
So,
But is the road complete in the back?
This is nothing to do with the road complete. We're mixed up. Jesse Miller's the one that screwed this up.
Right.
I don't think. We're talking about abandoning from
Yeah.
the sidewalk in front to the old stop sign at the back wall.
Correct.
And that's all we're talking about abandoning.
Steve do his thing.
okay.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I have a series of emails I shared with you all, if I might, the most recent ones, but these actually start back in June of 22, which is when Mr. Booth first raised the question that I recall during my tenure. And at that time, there was some confusion with VDOT because there were several road projects related to that. And then when this issue came up, when we went back out and did the walkthrough back in February, some of you raised a question that day. And so the email chain I sent to you was started, of course, with that. And you are correct that Miss Sunshine was under the impression that the road abandonment had been completed, but it had not. And then, of course, there's a follow-up from Mr. Miller about that has not taken place, and these will be performed simultaneously once all road construction and repairs have occurred. And he said it's been a month or two since, but it was still a mess, and let him know. So that's kind of the last,
He's
is,
going to combine them.
February 21st. So just so you know, that is kind of the background, and so I think that's, I just wanted to share.
But he's the man that comes across.
Several times, the school board hadn't decided whether they want to, like, Public Road or not, back to the safety. I didn't mean to get him fired up, but, you know, I would have made the motion a long time ago to abandon that section. Being as it's in my district, I would have made that motion at any time that I got to go ahead on the other part, but
If you would like, we can officially call for an inspection and get with Dee.
Well-
Do that.
whether the new part ready to go or not, irrelevant,
Mhm.
or not relevant, how you gonna say it. Well, they're two different things. There's gonna be two different requests to VDOT. One is to abandon that section. Now, we can do it at the same meeting,
Mhm.
but they are separate actions.
Mhm.
And then immediately after, we can ask, but we've gotta go back through the public hearing process since it's been so long. I mean, you gotta go back and post it, gotta notify the neighbors over there. The whole process again.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
because his
thought-
last note, if I might, said we should do it all together. You get to decide, so I'll tell him you decided otherwise.
Do the advertising. All of them. If you win the VDOT, anybody, if you ever allow them to build something on a non-abandoned right of way.
That was all along.
And this is one person fussing about that much of a building being in the right of way that we wanted the road put in.
I'm just,
I'd just like to get the ball rolling again.
I'm just boggled. Why would we have to contact other neighbors, Jerry? Because now,
Anybody next to it to make sure that they do not have, because one of those neighbors already contacted me on the previous. There's some question about where the greenhouse is located right now, whether it's on school property or their property. But anyway, you still notify them because you don't know what's out there that could be a right of way through there. That
yeah, this was putting the cart before the horse big time. It was.
So I've emailed Mr. Durbin and asked him to provide us with assistance on this. We'll move forward.
You have anything, Brian?
Is that,
I'll squeeze you in. You have
I was just coming to see if y'all need anything. Just 2 minute update on where we're at, and that's it. Just my typical stopping.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, we might want to do the law enforcement proclamation. If that's all right with Sheriff while he's here.
Sure.
There you go. Absolutely. Diary.
Thank you, Chairman, for letting me read this. Obviously, as we talked about earlier in the meeting today, marked the 20th anniversary of Officer Scott Gilden having his life taken in the line of duty. And it certainly holds a special place, Law Enforcement Week, to all of us, and especially me and Chairman Turner. We did law enforcement, but we'll read over this proclamation for National Law Enforcement Week. To recognize National Police Week 2023 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are approximately 738,767 law enforcement officers serving in the communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Floyd County Sheriff Department. Whereas some 55,054 assaults against law enforcement officers are each year, resulting in approximately 16,260 plus injuries. Whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, over 26,258 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Whereas those fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring. This includes 224 officers killed in 2022, an additional 332 officers who died in previous years. Whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of our fallen officers and their families. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Floyd formally designates May 12th through the 16th, 2023 as Police Week in Floyd County and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. So we thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution.
I'll second.
Second. I'd like to add, Scott was killed, who he died with. It's forever stamped in our memories. Especially when you grew up with him, you've seen him grow up, you see his kids grow up. And just like that, it's all wiped out. And I heard on the news yesterday, 29-year-old female deputy. I was driving drunk, wrecked. All she did was ask him to take field test. And what does he do? He pulls out a gun and shoots and kills her. And she was a new mother, had a small child. That officer chasing a burglary suspect, he turns around and shoots him in the leg. The officer, lost his leg, but eventually lost his life, and infections that came from it. So, every day, every time I turn on the news, I hear this crap. And then I hear, this year, defund the police, defund the police. And Brian can tell you, Levi can tell you, the people bash us the worst, and run us down, was the ones that hollered for help throughout us. So, anyway, I get off in soapbox because I get all wound up because, my son took my place and I know what he faces and I worry about him and all these guys and girls every day. And the dispatchers, everybody. So, with that, you may have anything to say.
Think y'all covered it.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you again to the department and your leadership.
I will say nobody can replace Joe.
Yeah, right.
Take that how you want. We were just here to, typical of me stopping by, just to let you know kind of where we're at. We've got one officer in the academy, one that'll be going in the end of June there. Other than that, things are doing good. Just another day in paradise, budget wise. So far, what we've submitted, everything looks fine. There is talk that there's a potential of going from a 5% to a 7%. Being that it's in between budget years, it's very unique because what they're telling us at the sheriff's conference here last week or the week before, I guess now, is that the 7%, that doesn't mean it's July 1, it doesn't mean it's August 1, it doesn't mean it's December, January, February. They have no idea. Since it's in between budget years, they can just put it out whenever they want. So, so we're going to prepare on the 5%, but I submitted an email to Miss Cheeto there. I'm going to go ahead and submit the 7%, and then I'll figure out an estimate of what the 7% of what the comp board would give us. That way it gives us a better idea on if that happens. But regardless, we're probably looking at January 1 at the earliest, if they do, if they take it to the 7%. I think what's submitted now is on that 5%, and that's, but I will submit that other scenario just in case, hopefully by the end of this week. We got Kids Fishing Day coming up this week. That's the only thing that may hold me back on that 7% because it's crunch time now for it. So, got any kids, grandkids, what have you, coming down to Thunderstruck Saturday morning. Right now, the weather's looking okay for once.
Yeah.
Usually it's pouring during Kids Fishing Day. And they are calling for like 30-40% chance of rain on Saturday and a lot on Sunday. But hopefully it stays on Sunday. So, that's all I have. Anybody have?
Roll on
Okay.
motion.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'll be happy to do that, Mr. Chair. So on the motion to approve the proclamation for May 12th through 16th to be Police and Law Enforcement Week and honoring those who have fallen as well as those who continue to serve. Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Be safe out there.
Right now.
Good to see you, Brian.
See y'all.
I'm gonna print another one, sorry about that.
Okay. You guys decide fast.
Yeah, Jacob, you ready? And
Sit down on it. Just
if I'm up, Mr. Chairman, so as you know, there's been a lot of things going on in the world of parks and recreation over the last couple of weeks, including their nice new shirt. So wanted to give you all an opportunity to hear what Kim and I get to hear all the time about the good stuff that's going on. And while she's still sitting here, if I might, as part of this report, want to point out the efforts by Ms. Woods. In addition to the Perfect Gift Shop, she was the driving force behind the new plants near the sign. And in fact, she was one of the folks out there digging the other day. So wanted to make sure you all were aware that her volunteer efforts for us are on many fronts, and we thank you. Take it.
That was actually the first thing on the list, so you beat me to it. Yes, so partnership for Floyd and Jean, Flower Power came out, and I'm sure y'all have went by and seen it. Flowers look great, I think, kind of the way they did it. I didn't expect them to do it that way, but I think it looks great. We planted some trees as well, so I'm excited for that to grow up and beautify the park a little bit more. So just swing by whenever you get a chance. I think it looks great. Second thing, as y'all know, baseball and softball season have been off for 2 or 3 weeks now. We had 306 kids, and that's just from T-ball to 12U. This year we're doing 13 to 15 baseball and softball again for the first time in a while. We've got about 20 kids signed up in each one of those leagues, so we're excited about that. That's a league that we haven't had for a while. Games started last week, and they'll stretch into the first week of June. Something to keep in mind as well is we won our bid to host the softball all-star tournament again, so we'll be hosting that for 10 and 12U. Be teams from Giles County to Pulaski, Radford, and everybody in the NRV league. So we're excited about that. It will cost a little bit of money to get on or to host, but I think there's money to be made on the backside as well. So we're excited about that. It was a huge deal for us last year. I think we gained credibility with a lot of our peers and Babe Ruth and Cal Ripken in general. So look forward to building on that. As y'all know as well, I have an advisory board now, and that's been very helpful to have 5 or 6 people that have been around and have some experience that I may not have, just kind of reflect on it. So very helpful to have them. We've been working on a lot of things and trying to figure out what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, from a community's point of view, what's important, what do we need to work on, things of that matter or that nature. I hope to get you on a report of kind of what we went over the last 3 or 4 months at the next meeting if I can. So just be on the lookout for that. Something we're doing today, actually, is where I just come from. We are doing quite a bit of work to Floyd Elementary's fields. Lord knows they've needed it for a while. So I have a piece of equipment now that will allow me to do that. And so we're started on that this morning. It looked good already before we left. So excited to get that going. As far as planning for future events, I know there's several special events y'all know of that are in the works. We're excited about that. I'm working on a new line of like youth camps. I think I'd mentioned this to y'all a couple months ago, but I'm working with Buffalo Mountain Zip Lines, the disc golf guy out in Willis, working with him to kind of put together single day camps for the kids, get them out, get them not bungee jumping, zip lining, and playing some disc golf throughout the day and having a lunch. So we're excited about that. It's new for us. Still in the planning stages right now. Looking for a few more staff members on the side to help with things like that, but they're going well so far. Just set in stone football camp for this year. We'll have football camp the last week of July. Coach Beal and most of his coaches will be there to help. A lot of players as well. So that's went well every year we've had it, and look forward to it again this year. Something I thought y'all would be interested in. I myself have received a ton of good feedback on Playground. So thank y'all for y'all's efforts on that. It's nice to drive up there every day and see black and gold and shiny and nice. And so we're excited. I know the community's excited about it. And to kind of piggyback off that, one of my advisory members has a probable in with a source of grant funding. Put another piece of equipment up there, something small for the kids that's more interactive rather than just something they can climb on. So when we get ideas on that, I'll send those to y'all in this Millsaps, but that's exciting as well. Talking about equipment moving forward, and I believe this is reflected in my budget request. We've got some equipment that needs to be replaced. One of our baseball mounds has seen its days, and the foam and some of the rubber components are starting to warp. I don't think it's unsafe yet, but we're getting there, so that'll be an expense. I've got to replace at least 8 I know of football helmets this year that didn't pass certification. We were already low on our number to begin with, so we had to replace them outright once we converted from the authority. So we are low, at least 8 or 10 helmets right now.
Well, that are on the brand new ones we bought?
Yeah, we had about 6 or 8 that come back and didn't pass inspection. Yep. So, yeah, I was excited when I got that.
That's not, and it's not unusual.
Yeah.
Because going back years ago when we get certified helmets and then we go to checking them and they wouldn't, every once in a while you'd have a brand new one that just slipped through the bags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, most of the time you can go back, if you put it early enough, you can go back to the company and they'll replace it.
5 years?
Are you talking about the ones we just bought?
New one.
No, this will be their 4th year.
Forward.
Yeah. No, we haven't lost any up until this point. This is our only second recondition, but yeah. So this is first brand of helmets we're losing, I guess. But just keep that in mind.
And sometimes they change your rules.
Yeah. Well, I know with one of them, we bought 2 separate kinds of Riddell's. We bought what was left of an older lot. One of the ones that we lost was because they physically don't make pads for the back of that helmet anymore, so they can't do anything with it. That one hurt a little more than normal.
Yeah.
But the other 5 were just wear and tear related. So, yeah. So just keep that on the horizon. Something we'll have to deal with. I'll probably buy them around June 1st. Got at least a 10-week lead on them right now. So it'll be a fun time getting those in. So those are just kind of the quick hit items I wanted to touch on. I'm going to leave the NRPA 2023 packet with y'all. Just kind of gives you an idea of where we're at nationally, what some of the trends are, what people are doing, stuff like that. So that's my quick little blurb. I hope to start making this a somewhat regular thing. So y'all have questions for me or anything y'all want to talk about, let's go right ahead.
And you already mentioned it, the park and the equipment, playground equipment. I sent Dr. Millsap some pictures over the weekend. I mean, they're just people swarming to it.
Yeah.
And it did a great job.
Thank you.
You did.
Yeah,
And
it's-
I know you had some others helping,
I don't ever want to show them all again.
but
3 truckloads a month, holy cow.
the signage looks good. Everything looks good there.
Appreciate that. We're excited. And I'll tell you too, being at the park, being in this office down here, you didn't kind of appreciate how many people coming in and out of the park every day. But having my desk where I can see people coming in and I mean, there's tons of people that I never knew would come up there. But I mean, it's during the day, it's not uncommon to have 6, 8, 10 people at the playground, walking the trail, walking around the ball fields with their dog.
Or just going to the picnic area and eating.
Yeah, or yeah, even the new, the little shelter where we put the benches at, people are using that a lot now. I mean, it's great. It's nice to walk outside and see people appreciate it. So,
We need to know, let VDOT know on their portion of the road along the one side, fix. Water stuff.
yeah, I keep putting, so sad story. One of my favorite things to do is, I love the ball fields. It's my favorite thing to work on at the park. But just, y'all know what it was built on. It wasn't built on the greatest soil, so we have rocks and cinder that constantly come up.
Yep.
So every day I go out with a bucket and I get down on my hands and knees and I pick up rocks, and that little gully is where those rocks go. I walk out and I said it rained and there's no puddle. I've been working on that puddle for about a year. That would be nice. It'll make my job a lot easier.
Well, thank you for the work that you've been doing. Yeah, when I was playing football, if that helmet didn't spin around your head 3 times, that was a good helmet. All of them were. Coming up, I mean, we're in May, it'll be football season before you know it. But one of the biggest things that I kept hearing last year a little bit was about using the high school fields. But does it look like, you think things look good coming up for the high school fields on that?
I don't know how Mr. Wheeler's departure will kind of affect this. I do know that Matthew and I and Barry probably are going to meet towards the end of the year to discuss some things like that. As far as us having more availability next year, I don't know right now. I'm trying to find every which way sort of solution I can to make it work for both of us, because I know they have their own struggles and their own hardships. So I guess what my goal is to find a win-win for both of us, so it's not a burden that we're up there. But to answer your question directly, I don't know yet. Yeah, I would assume for right now, we're kind of operating under the same rules, but that's something we'll talk about by the end of the year for sure.
That was a little bothersome to me last year. I just look at it as we're all a county and we should all be.
Yeah. Well, and these, the way I think about it is, these same kids that are coming through the rec program are these same kids that are playing on that field in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
Anything you can do on that, that'd be great.
Okay. Appreciate it.
I don't know how things changed the way they did the last few years. Prior to that, it was, you just scheduled to make sure your schedule or the rec department authority's schedule didn't conflict with the high schools. And then, boom.
Yeah.
I never did get an answer as to why, but.
I think most of their concerns come from just the way that field's been for 20 or 30 years. I mean, by October, it's always a mud pit. I think the intent of what they're trying to do is prevent that as best they can. To what extent it's working, I'm not sure, but as I understand it, that's the intent.
I do. I really appreciate all the work you've done for the park. It looks really great.
Thank you.
One of the things I'm hearing is that there's a dog's leash sign for dogs up at the park.
Son,
I don't know.
so maybe I'm
Did dogs have to be on leash on Dodds Creek?
Yes. At the beginning of the trailhead there, I believe there is something that goes to that effect, leashed on the trail.
But other than that, they don't have to.
To my knowledge, they don't around the rest of the park. I will say this too, so kind of, once I got up there, it was a surprise to see how many people come up here with their dogs. And that paranoid me for a little while. So I was a little more vigilant when folks with dogs come up. But I have not found, other than the occasional once every couple months, there's no surprises in the ball fields. I've not found surprises else around the park. So I don't know if maybe we need to put a leash rule up there. But citizens so far have been respectful that I've seen. There's always one or two, but
Well, originally, when it was the authority and all started, it was the assisted animals.
mhm.
And then somewhere it got changed, and it was when we took over the department, it got changed on.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it was just guide dogs, that type of stuff.
Mhm.
It's the only thing allowed.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it as long as we don't start having problems.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't have an issue with it as long as folks continue to be respectful. I guess the way I look at it is we don't have a dog park in the county, and the closest one's in Christiansburg. So, we've got natural beauty. If they want to respect it, why not let them use it? But I agree with you. The second I start seeing surprises,
Don't be afraid to put the signs up.
yeah, I will be a happy Jacob walking around.
I just want to, thank, for her work this weekend. Thank you so much. And your group, for doing that. It's a wonderful addition. Jacob, I think you're doing a great job. I think there's, just an amazing response to the playground. As Jerry was saying, being on the front page of the press above the fold was really nice. That was wonderful of Floyd Press to showcase, the new playground equipment. We could post everywhere, but sometimes just seeing that for folks and then spreading the word. I was wondering if check is also going to be tended to in terms of the ball field.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got two of my advisory members actually have said they're going to take care of it. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Excellent.
so they're doing us a favor out there.
Yeah. First meeting was last week or the week before
No.
last?
First meeting was in February, I think.
Okay, so, all right, great.
Yeah, we went February, March. But we took one of those months off. Didn't realize that we have them on Mondays, and about 5 out of the 7 coaches have practice. So in that second meeting, but I think we're on a third or fourth.
And in that baseball older group, are some of the travel players coming to that, or is this just older kids that didn't have an opportunity to play, or is it a mixture?
It's a little bit of both. We're trying to rope in some travel ball kids every chance we get. But as far as the older kids, it's mostly we've got about half and half of middle schoolers and kids that just didn't want to play middle schools, didn't make it. I don't know.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so we're excited about that. We a little better turnout than I had expected so far.
Excellent.
But you bring up a good point. Just be good information for y'all. I think the divide between travel ball and rec ball is getting deeper as time goes on. And I had a conversation with a local coach the other day. They have a team of 10-year-old girls that are all but one, I think, is from Floyd. Said that they just look at the schedules of rec and travel and the convenience, and it's just it's hard to describe it. They're like, we want to keep playing travel, just the way it works. The traveling, the getting out, uniforms, whatever the case may be. That's concerning to me. So that's something I'm trying to work on.
Maybe your advisory council can help with that because I think that might be good.
Yeah, don't think I'm put down. Yes, and that's across the board. Yeah, Linda. Basketball is the same way. I mean, even in football, there's travel football now.
Is there?
Yes. Where did that come from? That was not a
I
thing when I
don't
was a kid. So we lost kids to travel football. We lost a lot to basketball. I mean, we lost probably our entire all-star team for softball and 10 and 12 to travel ball. Probably not our entire all-star team for baseball, but a good portion of those kids didn't come back. So just something to keep in mind. Numbers are good, but we're still losing kids at the same time. But we're working in the background. I'm trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. But I appreciate y'all's time. If there's anything y'all need, feel free to reach out.
And I promised the person I would do it every time I say yeah, and every time I do, don't forget the pickleball. Is there any way we can get that?
Yep, Linda and I talked about that about a week ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're already on top of it.
plans in motion, or I won't say in motion just yet, but we're pondering some things. So, yeah, I don't know nothing about pickleball, so this is Greek to me, but we're trying.
I asked the fellow how many pickles he eat to play ball.
Hopefully I think with a new superintendent, maybe there is a new window opening, door opening, that we might be able to start fresh again with all the parties concerned.
Yeah.
To make sure that, we go through it, because every single one of the kids that has been playing on that football field, like you said before, they were in rec and they got to play on the big field. And there's nothing that, I mean, there's nothing that you can replace that with, being on the hometown football field.
Agreed. It's the only place we have county.
Under the lights.
That was
You
big.
see those kids' faces
Oh, yeah.
when they hit that.
Yep, yep.
Even like we did rec night this year, I mean, we had kids that just, I mean, were ecstatic, just running around like they thought it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
You know.
they do.
So, that's, I do feel strongly about that. Gonna conveniently close the mouth at the moment, but, yeah. So, yeah, we're working on it.
All of us would say more than we should.
Yes.
Yes.
You learn lessons as you grow up. So we need to keep your mouth shut. But, yeah, we appreciate y'all. Like I said, if y'all need anything, let me know. We're gonna go back, and before the rain comes, we're gonna try to get the other field worked up, and we're
Excellent,
gonna have a grand old time.
excellent.
All right, y'all have a good day.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Bye-bye.
Take a time.
It's listed on the list. Because we make sure that in the public creek, landing place plays within playground areas to the floor that's finished to discuss.
Yep.
And maybe they should purchase anything that we have time to discuss.
Okay.
I'd say.
Where do you want to go from here?
Here we go. I've got until 1. And then I'll come back.
Schedule right.
Would
The
you,
only other action, item,
I think we're going the same place. Shall we go to
Okay.
Kevin? Kevin and the proclamation.
right, the proper, yeah, so maybe if we wanna read this and I'll go get Kevin. Okay.
How long do you think closed session's gonna take?
Well, you never know. But my part will not be long. Yeah, my part will not be long, and I've shared some of this with some of you individually, but wanted to make sure everybody that hadn't started.
I would feel better. If I have to leave, I don't miss that. Yeah, I know. We'll see.
So what are we doing?
So you want to do the,
Well, is that okay? Is that okay with you, Levi?
you want to do proclamation or closed session first?
Proclamation shouldn't take too long.
Nope.
It's just the last action item other than the other two that we need Kevin for.
Thank you.
Yeah, give that to one of them.
Yep. It's a magnet. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
I will, whoever would like the flower power one, will give it to you. Mr. Chairman, if you would like, I can move ahead with reading the Mental Health Awareness Month resolution. All right. And this is a proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2023. Whereas nearly 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 5 adolescents in the United States live with a mental illness, and whereas mental health impacts a person's emotional, social, environmental, financial, and overall well being with significant disparities among racially and ethnically diverse communities, and whereas suicide is now the second leading cause of death for 15 to 24-year-olds, with teenagers experiencing a 17.3% increase in the use of anxiety medication since 2010, and whereas 1/3 of the United States population lives in a county designated as a mental health professional shortage area, and whereas an estimated 44% of residents detained in jails are suffering from a mental illness, often with co-occurring substance use disorders, and whereas Floyd County and all counties serve as a safety net for residents in need, first responders, and operators of crisis lines, hospitals, and detention centers. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that Floyd County Board of Supervisors declares May as Mental Health Awareness Month in Floyd County to highlight the critical role of the county in providing crucial behavioral health services and resources to its residents. And be it further proclaimed that Floyd County Board of Supervisors continues its commitment to partner with our community members to ensure that all mental health services are accessible, valuable, and culturally appropriate for all residents, passed and approved on this 9th day of May 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, on the motion to proclaim May 2023 Mental Health Awareness Month in Floyd County, Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, that is approved. So now if you'd like to move to closed session, is that what you'd like to do next?
Take a motion to go in closed session under 2.23711A3, A19.
So moved.
Second.
All right, on the motion to move to closed session under 2.23711A3, discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, and 2.23711A19, discussion of plans to protect public safety as it relates to terrorist activities or specific cybersecurity threats or vulnerabilities, and briefings by staff members, legal counsel, etc. On the related subject, Mr. Booth,
Yeah.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and, excuse me, Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, we are moving to closed session.
Motion come out of closed session.
Yeah.
Still,
Second. Sorry.
Motion second.
All right, on the motion to come out of closed session, Ms. Bechtold,
yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yeah.
Ms. Cookenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes. Take a certification motion that we only discuss those things within the closed session for.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. All right, on the motion to certify that we only talked about the things we were supposed to talk about in closed session, Mr. Booth?
Yeah.
Ms. Cookenbook?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yeah.
And Mr. Terman?
Yeah.
All right, we are out of closed session and certified. Thank you.
What about the other two, the two action item?
So if I might, yeah, we have just a couple of other action item related things. The first two are those emergency management road issues that came up at the evening meeting that you wanted to hear a little bit more from the staff about. And then the final item, even though it doesn't say action item, we need some guidance on, is what you all want to do about the real estate assessment schedule. As you recall, we would, for our, I guess we're at a 5-year, we can go to 6 years. But if you wanted to do it, start now, then we would need to know that and start moving forward, or we can delay and work with Steve about how I get that done. But I would need a sense from you all of where you want to go.
Tell you. 6 years. That in itself just creates a problem.
You can
From my experience.
Yeah, unless I hear otherwise, I'll say, well, because I know this was left up in the air at our last meeting, and I want to make sure you guys are okay with us moving forward. All right, we'll start moving forward.
Or I think.
I-
I'm not speaking for everybody. And get it in place and move forward, and get it in place in a non-election year, so it takes politics out of the picture.
Y'all good with
We just
that?
need a consensus.
Yeah, that for me, that's fine, and I will we'll bring this back when we have a budget meeting, because that has budget implications, but I'll start down the path to getting this done. And I will tell you that Lisa Baker has already, at our request, very kindly reached out to some other communities to see what kind of prices they're getting back. So when we get to the budget session, we'll be able to have a little bit more information about that. She was kind enough to reach out and do that, so appreciate that.
Are we going to, we'll have to send out an RFP?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's you don't start with the RFP. You start with, it's called something. Here it is. This is a candy guide she gave me. Send out a request for statement of qualifications.
All right. All right.
So yeah, she gave me my whole roadmap. Very Lisa. So okay, if I might, thank you. That helps us move things along. And then if we want to grab Kevin again for a second on these last, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman, to move forward.
You mentioned budget meetings. How many more budget meetings? So thinking.
Well, if I might, Mr. Chairman, so our suggestion was going to be, so in my part, and the chairman knows this, but I'm going to take some leave this month because my husband scheduled a big trip for us. So I asked back in January. But so we were thinking about maybe requesting you get together the week after Memorial Day weekend. So around the 30th, 31st, 1st.
Oh, okay.
So that would give us enough time to advertise, and hopefully in that amount of time, we'd have a better sense from the Commonwealth. And then we will also, unless y'all tell me otherwise, we will, as a courtesy, print in the Floyd Press and post on Facebook and all in our website and all those kinds of budget. But we may need to also go to the Roanoke Times because of the daily printing if we get backed up just a little bit. So, but we would still go to the Floyd Press. I'm a little concerned if we have to use a Floyd press as our only method, that we might get backed up.
Yeah, I have,
Just projected dates that we could have board meetings. If we come in high season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Week.
so
What-
30th and 31st, you said?
We're thinking the 30th, 31st, or maybe the first, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the Monday, the 29th is a holiday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And yeah, if that all works for you all as possible. Kim's making a face.
And are you, would you rather have night meetings for these?
Good.
Okay, good.
Just first thing.
Of course, I heard from
And
this week anyway.
Yeah. Well,
What dates did you say? 29th, 30th,
The 29th.
31st?
that's the holiday.
Yeah, so the
No.
Tuesday the 30th, Wednesday the 31st, Thursday the 1st of June. There's kind
Or
of some
even
of
the
our,
second.
what, we talked about this earlier, so.
Yeah, no, I just wanna make sure advertising. We were gonna do the week, we talked about one the week before that. Maybe the, oh, that's right. My
Have
apologies.
our meeting the 23rd.
But if we do the Roanoke Times, that helps.
Yes. Thank you, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was like, wait, Kim, stop, Kim will become stressed.
Already.
All
So
right,
what's y'all's preference?
I'm good with any of those, or all three if we have to bank.
Start on
Wanna
the-
do Tuesday?
start
On
on
the
the
Tuesday
Tuesday
and
Thursday?
reserve Wednesday, Thursday. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. That would do it for the early morning.
Yeah, 8:30.
okay, so we'll plan on the 30th, May 30th at 8:30. And then if needed, 8:30 on Wednesday and or Thursday.
I was thinking when you said morning, I was ready to get here at 7. 6 o'clock,
Carried
yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so that's, yes, so that's why we're trying to.
We can reduce, we can't increase.
Right, that's well, so that's some of what we would decide, hopefully on the 30th. So
And you know,
there are mixed thoughts about the
the-
7% happening.
the night meeting is the 27th because it's so late. Because the second Tuesday is the 13th. Because the first is, I mean, this is as late as it possibly could be from a calendar.
Same thing as.
Correct. Yeah, I know.
We have ours adopted by.
It'll be
third. So third.
It's early again. But not anytime soon.
I'm saying that if the state hasn't settled anything by Thursday the first, then we're gonna have to go to public hearing if the 7%.
Or whatever
Worst
it is.
case.
Yeah, whatever seems to be the word. The same. There's kind of mixed thoughts about if they're going to go to 7%. So, but if I might, Ms. Chairman, since I know you just have a few more minutes before Ms. Cookenbook has to leave, the last two action items on your agenda, unless you all make a change, has to do with the naming of two shared drives. And you will recall, and all this information, of course, is in your packet. You'll recall that this came up at the night meeting. I think it was after 10. And so I have to admit, at least for me, I was foggy and didn't have a lot of answers. But we brought Kevin to deal with any questions that you might still have related to this issue before Ms. Cookenbeck has to leave.
And also, if I may, please note that Carla, through her due diligence, there are updated correspondence in that folder with
Yep.
regards to both. It shows a little bit more, I think, clarity per the conversation that you had last meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a question, and this relates to all of us, and I think it's, I stopped as I was coming in and talked to Kevin. You know, we have a policy set, and it seems like the policy isn't maybe keeping up with the times. And I'm just wondering if we need to rethink our policy so that we're not kind of put up against a wall when other people are coming in and needing to have something done. So, I don't know. That's my thoughts. You answered a number of my questions.
Yeah, it was, this was strictly on me as far as this goes. Is we deviated from policy, mainly because we thought it was for the citizens. Less trouble, as you know, changing your address once is a pain. Buying a new house, changing your address, and then a developer who's got 50 lots decides he puts up another house, now you have to change your address again. And it was strictly, wasn't a benefit for the developer, it was a benefit for the citizen. And there's several policies that we have as far as addressing goes that we really should sit down and look at. You know, there's holes in it, but I shouldn't have deviated from policy. That was strictly on me. And you know, I basically talked to Carla and I was like, if it looks like, you know, if it's a known developer, it's building multiple houses, let's get ahead of it and go ahead and name it. And I understand the confusion it brought, and I apologize.
It's when we name something and they just, like we're having now, they bring in an RV. And they never build a house. Now, their lives are just as important, don't get me wrong, but now we've got something built without a proper septic, perhaps without proper water. And now they can get APCO, they now have an address, they can get internet, an address opens them up to
This,
Nana.
This is not, that goes back to what some of these others that came in, and the point I was trying to make. I understood the reasoning behind when that rule was put in, but there are other ways that you can protect on sex offenders and other stuff like that. And I don't know exactly when that changed, because when I purchased a piece of property and I came through the door and another lady with a trunk long ago was working, we didn't have that. And she asked me, she said, well, do you want to go ahead and assign the address to that piece of property? And I said, no, I don't see a need to. I'll do it when I need it. And somewhere between that and the early 2000s to when I came back on 18, we had the policies we have. As far as assigning an address to a property, I don't think it should matter whether there's a structure already there or not. And as far as after hearing your explanation, I don't know, this 3 to a road, maybe it needs to be 3 parcels instead of 3 structures.
yeah,
What I'm saying?
we can talk through it. It was mainly for strictly well-known developers that we know are gonna develop the land, not just somebody that buys 200 acres and then name it.
I understand, but
Yeah.
from the standpoint of trying to put everybody on the even. Should have a policy that in this instance, if it has three parcels or more, it can be named. And that doesn't matter whether it's got a structure on it or what kind of structure in that instance. And as far as assigning, you know, if I buy a lot, like I bought a lot on Route 8, if I want an address assigned to it, I come in, I'll pay whatever the fee is and have one assigned to it.
But what do we do about the sanitary situation?
That's the health department's. We're overreaching our realm of things. The health department's responsible for sanitation.
But if they don't know an RV is there,
Well, You can pull a camper out in the middle of my property and leave it sitting there and use it, whatever, they don't know it's there, but it's still the health department's the one that comes in on. It, to me, we're created more problems for other citizens that are trying to do the best they can, trying to get, and us, you know, that's one reason we're redoing the subdivision ordinances, to put that onus back on the property owners. Well, in this instance, I think it's still back on the property owners, that, you know, government can't be everything for everybody. And I know there's a gentleman here this morning that probably wants it to be, but we can't. And
You don't want it.
I have no problem if we change the policy right now to where it's, in this instance, it's 3 parcels or more. In this instance, then it doesn't matter what kind of structure it is on it. And I don't mean to be flippant toward your point, Linda, it's just,
Well, I was gonna mention, one of the other, ideas, kind of a halfway in between, that Kevin had mentioned to me, was a possibility of, in some of these cases, like the folks have been coming that say they're getting ready to build something. You know, there's also potentially an option to do a temporary address, and after so much time, if you haven't, similar to a building permit, in that if by a certain point, then it expires. But to your point, Mr. Booth, you know, if you all are looking at, in the future or the near future, making a change in policy, if you could potentially start with these and then let the staff and Mr. Durbin and us kind of go back and think through maybe what's the best, knowing you want to move forward with doing something differently and a little bit more helpful to folks that are reasonably trying to build something, if that helps.
well, it like, the only problem I see with what you're talking about is, say, in this instance, you got these 2 over here on the right that are proposing to build. So we do a temporary naming. Well, if these people go ahead and change their address and these don't get built, and we say, well, we're taking that away from you, then they gotta redo their whole stuff again.
Yeah, or maybe there's something that we can send across the bow of the developer, hey, we're gonna name this road, if you don't build no houses in such a time manner, I mean, you're gonna owe the county some money.
My inclination is to put all the fee on the developer. So if you have 200 acres and you're gonna divide it up, you pay for the expense of the road and all that numbering. And it's just part of the cost of development. So it shouldn't be a burden on the citizens that aren't involved in the benefit of that division.
Yep.
So why should they pay for that?
The, I support the, Water Haven Lane being named. The developer, for this I'm gonna butcher this up, Marybelle Drive, what is? Marybelle Drive, the developer should fix that because there's no structures. But if he's gonna develop it, he can't force his hand if he wants to do what's right. But that's where maybe when it comes to developers, maybe there's a different set of standards for them to follow. I don't know. It's just, we have people come in that's moved in and got an address, and then we send them a letter, you gotta change your address, and they get, But that's part of the weight I have to carry.
Would that be what you're saying for this, since they're really are just permits, would the developer then bear the cost?
Yeah, because they're the ones creating this. So if I'm the property owner and I want to divide up my land, I'm going to know part of the cost of me dividing my land into all these parcels is going to be a road name assignment and the expense of that.
Right.
Because it runs upwards over $1,000 of
Yeah,
true cost.
that's just dead cost. That's dead cost.
In this instance on Maryville, isn't that more of an agriculture?
Yeah,
isn't that what that's falling under our current ordinance, is an agriculture entrance?
I'm not sure, my side of this is to get an ambulance or fire truck on. And, I don't really know
That
how
was.
things are.
By the statement, it's not a state road. It doesn't say anything about it being intended as a state road, it's a right of way.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that would be, based on parcels, it would probably be a.
yeah, and when you take off the, satellite imagery, that 47-5, you'll see those gray structures, and it's probably, let's see, 7, but all of them are old sheds.
Yeah, they're dilapidated.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure when I've looked at it on the plat, those look like structures. I mean, it's just a square. So, again,
So then your policy that you'd like to implement, the developer, the person who's doing this pays for the naming or, and that's kind of what you said.
yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer, and it helps the citizens out. And if well, let's be honest, if you got the money to buy 200 acres of land, you've got the money to.
Take down $1,000, put the name and sign. And it would be like when we did that one for the Wade,
The disc golf course, he paid.
correct, he paid for it, and then for the other one where there was a family, and then there were 2 other structures that were already there, and the young couple wanted to come in. That made sense, because they had bought a parcel, and now there were gonna be 3. And I can see us doing that, because we have 3 established parcels, so yeah. Yeah,
May I answer your question?
Sure.
Is that okay? Maribel is a 50-foot easement for the agricultural lots in the back.
yep,
Oh. If it may, one other thing on water rate.
Yes.
We're trying to figure out now, coming from 221, comes straight in. Now, does Water Haven go up to, so. Yeah, does Water Haven go up to the 1392 house, which is, I believe, the Nice home? Does Water Haven follow it and the other 2 are driveways off of it? Or is Water Haven going into the straight line and these other 2 are driveways?
It would go back to the, parcel 4460. It's a 7.
So it'll curve, that double curve part would be at Water Haven and the other 2 are driveways off it.
Yeah, there's a house back there, Mr. Nice. It's a cabin.
So Water Haven go all the way up.
Yeah.
so the realtor in me asks, are 4450-F, 4450-E, and 4450B lots 4, 5, and 6, they are entering in on Mr. Neeson's right of way. Has that developer gotten permission?
Again,
See, I still would hold off on this one till we know that we're not, because this is my district, and I don't want to imply for Mr. Neese that he is giving permission because we've already decided to name it. You understand where I'm coming from on that?
Scarlett only has 2 other, him and another person currently.
Well,
Him
this
and 1390.
1390, I'm sure has a right of way.
Yeah,
But these lots over here, I don't know I don't see anything on them that tells me whether they.
So is it,
Now,
you're worried
Mr.
that it's inside.
from us, without them asking Mr. Neese.
That's, if I'm understanding you correctly, so, okay, sir, I'm sorry. If I understand correctly, Carly gave you all the other documents in our last business meeting
Right.
when this first came up, and in it is an E911 shared drive road name request. and Mr. Neese
Signed it,
has signed it.
but his road is not gonna be named.
Does,
His name will, it will be named?
Yeah, correct, correct. So, because it's, on GIS, it's marked incorrectly, and it's actually a part of Mr. Neese's, which he has signed and given. Correct.
my concern is, he's agreed to his driveway being made. He's not agreeing to access for the other lots.
I just wanna make sure.
That's your question.
That's my question. I just don't know that Mr. Neese, and again, then I'd come back to the fact that, that when we're going in, so Winter Haven looks like it goes all the way down to the bottom of the hill. Well, the person having the heart attack is up here on 44-50, God forbid, but, you know, and they've already gone down to the end of the hill instead of coming off to the right and going to,
Do you think, I mean, in your opinion, and just from first responders' opinion, do you think that should be a different name on the road cut to the right? I think that's what seems so weird about this.
Yeah, and if they got a permit for 6, 5, and 4, that's 3 structures, and you could justify naming that.
something else.
Yeah. Something else to get us in there. They're gonna turn and then turn.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gonna be a pretty busy intersection right there at the crest of a knoll too, so, it's.
Just off of 221.
Right. So, there's other things that I've seen that we need to address, cause we run into this a whole lot. You start down a private or a shared drive and we need posts, at least if it's not a mailbox, just a post in the ground, the number at the driveway.
Exactly.
Love
This
it.
is where the developer responsibility comes in, their expense.
But this wouldn't take care of these
No.
poor people in lot 4, 5, and 6 if they were sick. And we don't ask that road be named something else from Mr. Neese's road. Because I fear a first responder is gonna come in off of 221 and immediately go down to Mr. Neese's 1390 or 1392, yeah,
So close, I would say that they would go to Mr. Neese's.
exactly. And then
They
this
would pass
person,
that first drive, not realizing that there's 2
That's
or
the
3
sick
more
person.
houses on there.
and that's where the sick person is, if we didn't name it something else. And then in the middle of the night, that can get very scary for somebody.
I wonder if there's any,
Gotta,
is there any way we could probably talk to the developer to move that driveway up the hill or further down? So
And
it
see,
would be
then you're
confusing.
going back to, if you want to name that, then you've only got 2 lots there that it serves.
no, there's a 4th. Oh, yeah, Mr. Neese's.
Oh.
Yeah,
About these front lots here, see, the picture I've got shows it stopping on like, lot 4450E.
yeah.
Well, and then you got 4450F, then you got the entrance. So that's only 2 lots right there.
Or
They have a permit.
I know they got a permit for lot number 4, but they don't show the line extending the lot.
Well, that's the software we use to address and stuff. They got a driveway for they, well, I did.
You'd like to find out if they do have a right of way on that entrance.
Good day.
No, I'm coming back. Just have to do this.
I think that's what she said on this one. Well,
Yes, the concern is that, is Mr. Neese aware that his driveway is going to be used to access more than just those 2 lots? His and the 4459, does he understand that he's letting these other lot 4, 5, and 6 come off his drive? Off his easement? Actually, it's Mr. Neese's property, so does he know that these other lots are going to access
Oh, it's his
off of
property,
his
it's
property?
not straight on the 200.
Correct.
Joe's,
I'd like to table these until we have more answers.
Water and, or both.
I think definitely Water Haven. And you're- I also question because it says red line is 50 foot to serve all parcels outlined in yellow, but there is a parcel outlined in yellow that this red does not touch.
It's a representation of the way it's, it don't show ownership or driveway or anything. Actually, it's undeveloped at this time, but
Right. But 47-50B
47.5B will be accessed by that,
by Cypress Drive.
no, by the, Cypress Drive, but that red line going down through where is a representation of where it's basically splitting up that parcel. The 47.5B will have right of way to that red line.
But that one
Yes,
doesn't touch the red line.
right. But it's got a right of way to it. The same owner owns it.
Okay, but we can't go on that assumption because he would sell it.
True this.
Sorry.
No. You're right. I mean, he could access it off Cypress.
Right.
So yeah, it is what it is. We just try to get ahead of this stuff.
I completely see, and I don't disagree with that. I just really believe that this expense of time and
I agree.
everything else should be put on the developers, not on the county. They should come to the county with a plan.
We need to look at several things. Temporary addresses with strings attached. Marking driveways, because I'm sure Joe and anybody that's worked in public safety knows how irritating it is when they say, well, you take the second driveway to the left or the third driveway to the left, and you get to the end of the road, there needs to be a post there marking. It would help us better.
This one on Maryville, see, it's, just take the red line as what it's servicing. It's servicing 4 potential lots there.
Yeah.
So that means that, it doesn't have the structures on it, but it is 4 lots.
Parcels, yeah.
Or 4 parcels, whichever. Now, 47B, it could come off of it with a right of way, or it could access from Cypress. So it's not landlocked or isolated, so. And that goes back to, like I said, that falls back in my feeling. You got 3 or more lots, whether you got structures on it or not.
Do you think it should be developer only?
I don't think you should discriminate because.
No, it's anybody.
Okay.
Anybody. If you want to name 3 or more lots,
You're gonna create 3 or more lots.
if you're gonna create 3 or more lots. But see, we have a lot of people that just have their driveways named too.
Yeah.
So that's that, and again, but if it's something potential development like this apparently will be someday, then that's where the 3 or more lots kick in, I think. And not worry about whether it's got a structure on it.
so do you want to table to our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you need anything, my office is right around there. Thank y'all.
We know how to find it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Did y'all get a clear picture of the additional information?
Where's mud?
Done our job.
I guess it goes down to administrator's report.
It does. And I have a few more small things to add to this, but not a ton, if I'm not to share. So, county events update. We've had some brief discussion before about an event in the community the weekend of July 29th. And so, as you requested, we're working on programming. Right now, we're looking for just the Saturday is our current plan for the rec park. But that our events would be focused on things that both music, activities, and vendors that would be focused on families and be kid friendly. So, not necessarily just kids' bands, as an example, but folks that you'd be okay with bringing your small children to hear. And so there will be some other things going on in other parts of the community that weekend. We continue to have meetings about that. But I think what we're kicking around calling specifically what will be going on at the rec park is just Floyd Family Fun Day. And so that little more focused on our community and those kind of things up there. So hope that looks well for everybody, and we will reschedule the kite event to that day and hope that it's windy in late July. It's much more likely to just be rainy, but we'll give it a shot. And anyway, I thought you all would appreciate the name. The OAA update is, of course, our thank you all for the special called meeting. Really appreciate it, and Kevin Burns particularly wanted to make sure that he appreciated the extra effort because ours appears to be the only one that's going in that has everyone in the region signing on to a packet, and so they feel pretty strongly that that'll be funded. So I saw him at an economic development meeting yesterday and wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. Economic development, that economic development meeting is one of the things that I wanted to go ahead and add that I didn't have on here before. Is yesterday, Ladina and I participated in a Go Virginia Region 2 meeting of the more rural localities in Region 2. Medina and I have been making some pretty substantial noise with Virginia Tech about Go Virginia was intended for everyone, not just the largest jurisdictions. And we really struggle with being able to put something together. So this was held in Roanoke at the Roanoke Education Center. And so the idea is to try to get a bunch of us together on some similar things that we're all dealing with. Most likely it'll end up being around workforce issues. But hopefully that would make us eligible to apply together if it works out for Go Virginia funding. By June 30th, if something is submitted by June 30th, at this point, the match requirement is less. Those of you that have been around a while remember that Go Virginia started out as a 1-to-1 match, but your match could be in kind. For now, it's at 2-to-1, so we would have to put up a third essentially. That's supposed to change June 30th, but there's some discussion that it may not, or that smaller communities might be able to request a waiver. So that's kind of where that is. So that's taken a little bit of effort. So really appreciate it. We continue candidly to push back with Virginia Tech about the town that, so I need to back up. For those of you who are not familiar with Go Virginia, you have to have 2 jurisdictions apply together. That's part of what the requirement is. And the thought was, to date, they have been unwilling to recognize us and the town of Floyd doing something together as 2 jurisdictions. Because I said the town is too small and it doesn't have its own economic development board and some of those things. So we continue to push along those lines and see if we can improve that, especially now that Andrew has certainly amped up some of the things he's doing with the town's business community. So maybe we can make that argument and do something there. So that's what we're trying to do.
Very good. The Economic Development Board to appoint themselves as town council to sit on it. Then you have it 2 separate economic development boards.
Yes.
What Macomb County did with the water authority over there. their board of supervisors is their water authority, they appointed themselves, so.
That's a great idea because it's candidly, you know, John and I have had, John Prevo and I have had numerous conversations about this because I'm aware in the Go Virginia region I used to work in that something along those lines would have been allowed. So that's why we keep pushing, but that's a great idea. I appreciate that, sir. I'll see Andrew at 3 o'clock. So hopefully at 3 o'clock. Anyway, thank you for that. So next is I put on here cows. So Steve has drafted a letter that he has signed and sent to the person that was selected to take care of said cows. And it includes a proposed amount. And also notates, however, that in the end, the liability, this is what we feel is reasonable, and that the liability ultimately falls back to the original owner. So both of those things are covered in the letter. Want to make sure you knew that went out. Radio system update. Of course, we've discussed this informally in other settings, but that we've put a slight hold on that to start looking for a different tower arrangement. And so we'll keep moving forward, but that's what we're hearing. I put Commonwealth budget update. We did get some things from Coin that provides some insight, clearly not enough. And the sheriff did forward some of his information as well. So we have both of those. There are some places that we might actually save a little money, maybe, particularly around retirement. So we'll see if that actually flies, but that's what's come out of Coin. Budget meeting was one of the other things which we just did. Then real quick, animal control, you'll recall a while ago, there was some discussion that there were folks in the community interested in helping build a fence out at animal control so folks could play with the animals out there. That's kind of resurfaced. We've already expanded a little bit to help out there to make sure somebody's taking care of the grass. So there is a place. But I'll be working with some of the volunteers and Deputy Marshal to see if we can come up with a proposal to put out. I think there were some unofficial, informal bids that were offered, but they weren't actually through the bid process. So we'll go ahead and tie that up the way that we should and go from there. And so if you all have input on that, that would be great. I think the idea is that some of the volunteers and other outside organizations would be raising funds, but it would still be on the county property in our responsibility. So and our liability. So that's why the conversation started.
They're actually talking about having internal loose or wall. And that's fine. It has age restrictions, minimum, and waivers.
Yes, they have waivers that we drafted. When you raised concerns before, we went ahead and created some waivers for them and the rec park and others. Yeah, we'll make sure.
Whatever activities covered.
Okay. Then the last two quick items that I had is I alluded to earlier. I'm going to actually take a whole week of vacation. Take days or two every once in a while and let the chairman know. But I will be gone the afternoon of May 19th through Memorial Day weekend. And we plan to visit Philadelphia, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania. So we're just going to carpet bag for a week.
Say, like you said, this was a surprise that. So she didn't have any say.
We're going.
I've explained to him in the future, the significance of scheduling these type of things in the fall would be better. Preferably, yeah, preferably after July 1, but. Yes, yes, one of the places, they book 18 months in advance. So it's just whatever opens up, that's what you got. So it is a lighthouse off of the coast, and they take you out in a boat and they come get you 2 days later. Good luck. So hopefully we'll both. Yeah, you have to bring your own food and the whole bit. So, but it'll be kind of nice. So anyway, wanted to let you know that if I don't pick up the phone, that's why. And then I think it's okay to say, since he announced at his board last night, but I was going to let you know that Craig is announced that in November he will be retiring from Montgomery County as county administrator. I'm happy for him. He's been in that role, I think he's in 14 years, 12 years, something like that. But he's been in government for 34 years, and that's enough. And I just know he has been probably one of the greatest helps to me in this role of just about anybody. So I appreciate all of his kindness and wish him well, but I'll be sad because now I find somebody else to call. So, but they've been really helpful, and he and Angie, his chief deputy, have been part of the drivers to making sure that we're included in a lot of things, and that they advocate for things like changes to Route 8 as it relates to Floyd. So appreciate that. That's all that I have.
Uh-oh.
And everybody sits down. Make sure when I talked to Dr. Mills about this earlier, she was sitting down.
Wow. What you turn it?
I have a suggestion concerning the green. Renovate. You know, we removed the one because of the abuse, at least temporary, and moved those up to one that's outside of town. My suggestion is that we not put that one back at the storage units are. And here's the part that's sticky. We clean up over the back on the one here, get everything cleaned up. And she's gonna check with the state, make sure that is state right away and they're okay with it. We leave the boxes there, but we put a fence up along that back. Go from just about where the gravel pile is all the way up past the recycling bin. That'll keep that stuff from going over the back, getting in the creeks and all that stuff. Now it's not gonna deter the bears, they'll go around it, I'm sure. But what I was gonna ask was, would you consider allowing her to at least get a pricing together on fencing that bank off across there? And we leave those boxes there.
For now, I think that's a decent option. I imagine a fence will be ultimately less expensive in the long run than having our staff go up and down that hill cleaning that nonsense up, especially now that there's another sofa and the debris is getting pretty large. So.
Well, after there was some talk about them being complaints about them being locked, I went out there and I walked over the bank and looked, and we had the normal stuff, but there was fresh bags over that hadn't been drugged there by a bear. Somebody had thrown them over the bank. I went back later, they had been tore open, and every once in a while you'll see fresh bags over that bag. So what I'm thinking is, if we can get that cleaned up in there, get the fence up, at least that'll contain everything right there. And if somebody's going to offset a couch, at least it'll be right there where it can be reached and loaded instead of having to get a tow truck to pull it up the bank or something. And and I know that sounds weird. I'm talking about doing away with the spot, but that one down there on Route 8 is closer to that stream there, and we've gotten by well, very luckily so far.
When you took over the kids, I noticed this green. It was shot down pretty quick. I won't change it. Around the kids, around in truck. I tried to get them, but the county take it down. Post, and throw it. So when we have a situation like this, we have to change it. You know, look how high them poles go.
Yeah.
I think
Well, there are other fencing on that. I know chain link is in the long run, but there's other fencing materials that still accomplish some of that.
I think that it needs to be just the people that are throwing the trash over the sides instead of in the dumpsters. Instead of taking it to the transfer station where the fellows will happily help them unload their car. This behavior is going to cause the green boxes to go away entirely. You know, I'm reading about, well, I'm just gonna throw it on the ground because they're not here. Well, the consequence is the boxes will have to go away because this is causing a lot of issues just beyond inconvenience, you know.
I wish we had a good camera system that when people throw it on the ground like that we could get a good picture at the end of the vehicles and stuff.
Well, see, by fencing that off and containing it in that area,
It will help deter it.
it'll help deter it, but I also think that it will create a situation where we might be able to put some cameras up to watch what's going on. Because now we don't have to catch them coming off of the road. So we don't have to be across
Right,
the
you don't have
road.
to have-
You know, you don't have to have the whole thing covered, have it more pointed.
See, that was the
But-
trouble in the past, vehicles on the main road was tripping our cameras.
Right, I'll address that too. There's been a lot of accusations that we're not doing our job, when in fact, there's been a lot of time and effort and research done. Our options are incredibly limited as to what we can do, because most of these green boxes are on private property. So,
That's what I've tried to get across to people. It's on private property. Once we lose that piece of property, can't get nothing back.
also don't just have, because it's on private property, the county can't do whatever they want.
Right.
We just can't put up cameras on private property.
Well, and to address that, I've heard some of the same Glover. I've said on this, my first time coming on this board in 1992, one of the first subjects we talked about was waste. And every board I've been associated with since then has wrestled the same problems over and over and over. And it's gotten worse. And to be quite honest, I think one of the reasons it's got worse is these people putting feed out at these boxes. It's drawing the animals in to them. And once they figure out they're there, you know,
Keep coming back.
yeah, I found a good restaurant and I keep going back, you know? And the general public's gonna have to help us out. They're gonna see a major inconvenience. I don't wanna see us go to like Patrick County where, all right, the landfill's open, everybody has to bring it to the landfill. I don't wanna see that.
Odor is so potentially ground. You can move in boxes.
Dump rent.
Yes, it will be there. Every time it comes a good rain, it smells.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm seeing is, why don't we have curbside pickup? For $20 a month. Our county revenue stream is so tiny, you know, our surrounding counties, our surrounding areas have an incredible revenue stream that we don't have. They have access to money. Hillsville has curbside pickup, but they also have influxes of money every year. Business licenses charged to all the vendors. Taxes. We don't have that here.
Some other prime example, they have theirs, so.
You know, what burns me is the driver, only if you go out still from, yeah, boy, to avoid the difference there. And they don't spend twice as much as it'll.
But they aren't getting fuel here either, they're filling up at home, so we're gonna get this fuel tax.
That would be my feeling is not put that one back and explain to anybody that comes, says, look, the abuse at that site. And maybe look into different kind of fencing rather than just the chain link. I mean, we can get a price on the chain link, but maybe I'll look at other potential fencing for there.
Martin.
Run, Mark.
Right.
And I'll hook up on that. You know, if you agree, you agree, or disagree, or whatever, but.
I agree with that, and I'm of the mindset of if the abuse continues and repeated abuse continues in some of these sites, I think we just need to start pulling them. You know, we don't have the resources and the ability to keep cleaning up excessive messes. We don't have the roll-offs to just keep supplying Carroll County with a place to drop their appliances. And without doing just massive tax increases to pay for more trucks, more roll-offs, the stuff doesn't fall from the sky. We need to start being really prudent with where we spend.
You had any update, Steve, on the potential solid waste ordinance?
Well, we put a couple other things a little bit higher on the list for him, so, but yeah, he has them, our requests. Yeah, all his spare time. So, yeah, and I will, if I'm not quick on that, I did go ahead and start sending the letters out to folks whose addresses we had. So we'll see if it makes any difference, and I will tell you, I did get a message to schedule a meeting with the person who owns Simmons Grocery, so at least one of them hit somewhere. So, sorry to interrupt your board time.
Yeah, I have two things related, but of course, you know, we pulled the ones down on Deer Run. I don't know if they've been pulled. I was down there the other day, but they're still there. So I guess it's coming if they're not already gone. If they're gonna be, it's today. Okay. If we maybe could, I meant to say something to Sheriff Craig there a minute ago, but I've got a feeling just because of the complaints I've been taking from it, and I was favorable to pull the site. I would like for it to be temporary, hopefully, to see if we can curb some behavior. But if we certainly, because I've talked to people on this, if we could look about a little break period, but then putting them back and seeing if improvement changes on people. But if we maybe could talk to Sheriff Craig, if they're being pulled today, I've got great expectations. There's going to be some that's going to continue to drop trash off and throw furniture off and everything else if they can pay a little extra attention to that site. And in addition to that, if we can definitely talk to the folks to see if we can make sure the Hummingbird location really gets picked up quite frequently, because everybody's going to be directing from the Deer Run site up to the Hummingbird site more than likely. So if we can, the last thing we need, and I need, is for that site to just be full where you can't get nothing into a green box. I've had some, and they're well taken complaints from some elderly folks who they're nervous about driving to the Hummingbird site, just because of the car traveling faster and the line of sight. Not a bad line of sight, it's just a lot going on in that intersection. And those are well received complaints. I understand what they're saying, but hopefully we can do some temporary stuff, get the boxes back, have improved behavior, and people's not feeding the cats, dropping off the construction equipment, and so on. And then the second point, y'all got any questions about the rest of that dumpsters before because this is like a different point. I felt like we probably should some months ago, we had, Mr. McSherry from Wild Cherry, who was talking to us about the barking dogs and the dog kennels. Whether, what direction we go, or if we do something or not, I just felt like maybe we should follow up on that. And I had some private conversations and just told them, let us get through some of this budget stuff, and then we'll try to talk about it. But I just didn't want to leave it open-ended. And I wanted to get back to them on something. And then that's the only thing I've got.
Something came up this morning that I've got.
Okay.
As long as it ain't bother me.
Blistered me, our heart.
It has to do with an appointment to the board. You got free time.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it.
Nominate.
That's a green box. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn till
5:23.
5:22. It's Mary's birthday. I don't know if we know.
We'll have cake, we'll have her cake for her.
Her present will be enough.
Second.
All right, on the motion to adjourn until May 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. for our regularly scheduled evening meeting. Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Mr. Terman, okay, and Ms. Cookenbook is absent. Thank you, Ms. Adjourned.